So welcome to fairrecovery.org. This is a site that will be tracking the stimulus at the federal level as well as at the state level and looking at number of recovery efforts, and it's going to be fairly comprehensive. We'll be looking at how these issues particularly affect marginalized communities, communities of color, maybe some rural communities, and we define marginal not just in terms of people, but also in terms of geography. The goal is to give people information so people can actually track how the money is being spent. And more than just tracking the money, it's also programs, and we hope that people will use this as a resource, but also to help think about how the money should be designed, how these programs should be designed. And it'll be somewhat interactive, and we'll be working with a number of partners around the country and in several states. We hope that the site will be used not just by, but we used by a number of groups. We start with the groups that are from marginalized communities or represent those communities, including social justice groups, including groups that focus on areas that are hard hit by foreclosures. But we also hope that policymakers, lawmakers, and others will use this site also, because this is actually a very big deal, and we're restructuring our society, we're restructuring our institutions, and a lot of people are participating in that effort. We hope it will be used as a way of enlivening civic participation by voters, by people who care. So it's really fairly comprehensive in terms of its potential outreach, but with a focus on marginalized communities. The kind of information that will be on the website will be, first of all, because there's so much information regarding the recovery, we'll have links to a lot of that information, including to government sites. We feel like there has to be a roadmap to help people navigate it. Otherwise, we'll be quickly overwhelmed. We also will not focus on a particular issue. We'll focus on several issues. For example, housing, foreclosure issues, transportation issues. We certainly will focus on credit issues. We may focus also on jobs, or green jobs and health, education. The idea is to have it fairly comprehensive without being exhaustive, so that people get a sense of critical institutions, critical monies, and in fact how these monies are not only being used and spent and these programs being developed, but how they interact. Because we know, for example, that it's hard to think about housing without thinking about credit. It's hard to think about jobs without thinking about transportation. And so our approach is really a systems or structural approach that looks at several of these programs in relationship to each other. And so organization will be able to pull out particular parts of this, but then also to think about it together. We're also particularly interested, though, in how it affects these marginalized communities. And the goal is not only for us to make sure that monies and policies are directed to these communities, but also that we address the nagging disparity between marginalized communities and the larger community. So we hope to have baselines so people can see if, as a result of these efforts, that the disparities between marginalized communities and other communities actually diminish.